Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I thank you for tuning in for another story time. And as you can see by the title, this is another story, not necessarily of a love story gone wrong. Well, not love spell gone wrong, but basically a love spell of revenge. So if you're interested in watching Michael and Lauren's story, do stay tuned. And the title of this story is Till Death Do Us Part, literally. So Michael and Lauren grew up in a small town in South Carolina. They basically grew up as best friends as kids. They went to the same elementary school, went to the same middle school, but in high school, Lauren had to end up moving to a different state. And at that time, both Michael and Lauren were high school sweethearts, so they had been dating for already a good 3 years prior to Lauren and her family moving out of state. So of course, this just tore each of them apart, but they swore to each other that they would keep in touch through the years, through the distance, and they decided that they would either become pen pals or they would call each other. So basically, from month to month, each of them would send a letter to each other, just letting them know exactly how things were going and how they were doing. And then, of course, every night they would talk on the phone with each other. So when it came time for them to choose a college that they both wanted to go to, of course, they chose the same college to go to, and they went to Southern State University. So when they saw each other for the first time, they were very excited, to see each other. It was a bunch of loving energy, lovable energy. They were hugging on each other, they were kissing, and they were so excited for this new adventure that they were both about to endure, both as freshmen in college and just basically continuing their journey as a couple together. As time went by, they both graduated, of course, and Michael had gotten a job opportunity in a different state. And so, of course, he told Lauren, he would really want for her to come with him to the state, uptown, basically. And Lauren had thought about it. She was just kind of like, well, she didn't know for sure if she wanted to exactly move up there with him, but she knew that she loved him very much and she wanted to be with him. So she basically sat down and had a talk with her mom. And her mom was just like, you really need to think this out. You need to think if this is exactly what you want to do, because once you are gone from us, we cannot get to you. We cannot help you. And her mom, just to give a backstory, her mom really wasn't the how can I put it? She really wasn't into Michael the way that Lauren was. Like she could basically see through Michael and all his tactics, ways that she felt that Lauren deserved better. But being that her daughter loved Michael so much, she of course had her back. She supported her, but she still gave her that motherly advice. And in this advice, she was just like, look, I really don't think you should move. I think you should just stay here in South Carolina. You're moving so far away from us that, we won't be able to help you again if something were to go wrong. And so Lauren was just like, well, Mom, don't worry about it. I'm going to be fine. Michael's going to take care of me. We're going to have a home together. And eventually we're going to get married. And so her mom was just like, okay, I trust you. I trust your opinion. But do keep in the back of your mind, if something were to go wrong, you can, of course, always come home. So Lauren was like, yes, Mom, I understand. Just let me be. I'm grown now. I've graduated from college. And this is another big opportunity, another big step in my life moving forward with Michael. So Michael and Lauren packed up their things and they ended up moving all the way up to New York. Now, this was a complete culture shock for both of them because they were so used to being, down south and around the southern atmosphere, the southern hospitality, to where now they're up north in New York and things are a little bit more aggressive. People are more abrupt, straightforward with things, and you did not have that down home southern hospitality. Like everything was different, from the weather to the food to the way of life, transportation. It was just a complete culture shock to both of them, but they swore to each other that, okay, this is our next big step. This is for us, and this is what we want to do. So as time went on, they decided that they would go ahead and take those vows of marriage. And so they had this big, beautiful wedding. Lauren's family was there. Michael's family was there. Everyone was so happy for the couple that they had finally decided to get married and exchange vows, and they were going to have this wonderful, beautiful life together up in New York. So of course that gave those in South Carolina, an opportunity to visit New York anytime they wanted to, basically get out of town or see the big city that they weren't used to seeing in South Carolina. I was about to say Southern South Carolina, but same thing. But so after they had gotten married, Lauren kind of noticed like different things about Michael that she had picked up before when they were just dating, but she really didn't pay too much attention to it. But she noticed that Michael really had like a flirtatious mentality, attitude when it came to other women. Like when they were out, he would be real flirtatious with the waitresses, or if they were, just doing their hanging out and about, she would notice that Michael had like a wandering eye and was always, complimenting other women, but he would rarely compliment her. And she eventually started getting bothered by it, and she expressed that to him, and he was just like, well, don't worry about it. You're acting insecure. I love you. I married you. So why are you complaining about me talking about other women? So Lauren just kind of blew it off, but deep down, it really did hurt her. And she was like, okay, I'm going to continue to love him because this is what a wife is supposed to do. So I'm going to love him with my whole heart. Again, as it says, when you say your vows, till death do us part. So Lauren kept that in the back of her mind. He hasn't been, he hasn't cheated on me or anything like that. So she decided that she's just going to still be the good, loving wife to Michael. So a good 6 months had passed by. They were still newlyweds, and this was only 6 months after their wedding day had happened. And basically what took place is that Michael ended up cheating on Lauren, and she was very, very hurt by this. Like, she was heartbroken, she was depressed, and even though he apologized and swore up and down that he was not going to do this to her, she still was very bothered by it because she had basically picked up everything that she had. She left her home, she left her family, basically all of her surroundings and her groundings in South Carolina. She picked them up to be with Michael and to prove her love to Michael. And it's like, here we are, we're married, and we haven't even made it a year in, and you're already cheating on me with another woman. So Michael did everything he can to, reassure Lauren that she was going to be okay and that their marriage was going to continue on and is going to strive and it's just going to grow stronger, and that he was deeply hurtful and sorry for what he had done to her. So Lauren, being the compassionate person that she was, she went ahead and forgave him, and they continued on with their marriage, living life as a married couple would do. But she always still kept in the back of her mind that he does have the tendencies to cheat. And at this time, he was still the flirtatious Michael that she had known. It was just now taken to a different level because you have actually gotten physical with someone else. So another 6 months passed, and they are now in a year of marriage. They are happily, going along with everything, and things seem to be going well from Lauren's point of view. She thought, he would no longer cheat on her. He was doing correct by her, and she was doing right by him. And they were, this tight, happy couple. So one day, Lauren was doing the laundry for the family. Basically, she's the one that would do the laundry for both her and Michael. And so she was going through Michael's pants, and basically when she was checking the pockets, because men like to leave stuff in their pockets, so you got to check their pockets from time to time. As she was checking his pockets, she found a piece of paper. And at first she thought it was just a receipt, so she was just going to throw it in the trash. But something told her, no, open up that piece of paper and read it. So what she did, of course, she opened it up and she read it. And in the piece of paper was a female's number, and basically saying that I really enjoyed the time that we had together tonight. Please stay in touch. So Lauren was like, okay. She's like, let me reread this. Let me reread it again, so I make sure, I'm not incorrectly reading this. And so she read it again, and she read it another time, and she read it another time. And with each time that she read it, she was seeing more and more red. She was like, I cannot believe it. She's like, this man is still cheating on me, and here's the evidence. So she went ahead and tucked a note in her bra, basically, because Michael wasn't home from work yet. And she was like, oh, I'm gonna get him. She's like, I'm gonna get him when he comes home. We need to get down to the bottom of this. And so Michael comes home, he's happy, he gives her a kiss on the cheek as usual, and she's just looking at him, all side-eyed and everything like that. And she went ahead, they sat down and they ate dinner. So Lauren was good. She was good. She was patient. She let them eat dinner together. They made it through dinner before she even said anything. Some of y'all know that couldn't be us. But anyways, they had dinner together, and the whole time that they were eating, she kept giving Michael like strange and weird looks. And he was like, well, what is going on with you? Like, what, you've been acting funny the entire night. What is going on? And so she finally pulled out the piece of paper and she handed it to him. And she was like, what is this? And so he opened it and he just kind of looked at it and paused. And she was like, Michael, what is this? And he's like, it's just a number. It's just a note. And she was like, well, she's like, who is so-and-so? And he's like, oh, she's nobody. And she was like, Lauren was like, she's nobody. So why is she saying she enjoyed time with you and she can't wait to see you again? Explain to me what that is about. And so Michael balled up the paper and he's like, you're looking into this too much. He's like, why are you even worried about this? He's like, I'm here with you. Why are you worried about this? And she was like, Lauren was like, no. She's like, she's like, you said that you would not cheat on me anymore. And here's evidence of you doing it again. She's like, no, I'm not going to let this slide. And he's like, so Michael got up and he was like, look, if you want to have an attitude over this, you can have an attitude over this. And he got up and he went on upstairs to the bedroom and left Lauren sit down there. And of course, she was so upset that she just broke down crying. And she could not believe that once again, he had done this to her and he had broken her heart. But this time around, Lauren told herself that she's going to take matters into her own hands. So, being very upset, Lauren, of course, called her best friend and talked to her back at home. And she was just like, he did this and I can't believe I fell for it again. And her best friend was one that dibbled and dabbled in magic. And she basically told Lauren, she was like, well, look, she's like, you need to do a revenge spell on him. And Lauren was like, revenge spell? She's like, what are you talking about? I can't do no revenge spell on him. Like, girl, I don't even know where to start when it comes to spells. And her friend was like, well, I got you, girl. She's like, you just tell me what it is and I got you. And so Lauren just kind of sighed on the phone and she was just like, she's like, I don't know. She's like, I really don't know what to do to him. She's like, I want him to basically feel the same exact pain that I feel, but I don't want to hurt him. And her friend was like, well, she's like, well, we don't have to do anything that we will hurt him, but just basically give him something that will remind him never to do that to you again. And so Lauren just kind of thought over it and she was like, you sure this spell won't hurt him? You sure everything will be fine with him? And her friend was like, look, girl, she's like, this man has cheated on you 2 times. And basically he does not give a SHIT about you. You're up there, you're in this marriage, girl, we need to take care of him. And so Lauren's like, okay, all right, girlfriend, I got, just go ahead and do some research and, let me know what you find out, but I'll talk to you tomorrow because he's coming back downstairs. Okay, all right, girl, bye. And so basically the next day her friend got in touch with her and she's like, okay. She's like, well, I know you didn't want to do anything that would hurt him, but this is the perfect revenge spell for you guys. And basically, this is like the 7 deadly sins spell that her friend suggested. But it was up to Lauren if she wanted to do a revenge spell for each deadly sin, if that makes sense. So basically, with each sin, as you go up the tier, then the spell would get worse. And each spell would last for a month's worth of time before the next spell would hit. And then it'd be 2 spells and continue on. So like, at 2 months, you have spells 1 and 2. At 3 months, you have spells 1, 2, and 3, and so forth and so on. So Lauren was just like, okay, this sounds interesting. But she's like, I don't know if I can draw this out to a whole 6 months period of time. I mean, not 6 months, but 7 months period of time, because that's a long time to be putting revenge on someone. And so her best friend was just like, girl, you need to get him back, in any way possible. She's like, there's no time frame to this. There's no limit to this. This man has put you through hell for a whole year. And half of it, you didn't even know what was going on. She was like, no, girl, you need to get him. Make him pay for the hurt that he did to you. And so Lauren was just like, okay. She's like, all right, girl. She's like, talk to me. Just go ahead and talk to me. So her and her best friend just talked and they basically went over what the spell would be, and Lauren agreed to it. So her friend went ahead and did her work, so whatever, and then she sent like a little packet to Lauren, and Lauren had to do her part of the spell as well in order for the spell to, start completion. So Lauren went ahead, burned her candles. She had to go ahead and get like some of Michael's hair. So she went ahead and got some of his hair when he wasn't looking. And then lastly, she also had to get some of his semen. And so she went ahead and got some of that creamy paste as well. And she did everything that was needed for the spell. And she just sat back and she just kind of like, she's like, wow. She's like, did I really just do that? Did I really just put a spell on my husband that's going to last 6 months, basically? Because she didn't want to do the full 7 months, but she agreed to go ahead and do the 6 months. So she just kind of looked and she's like, Lord, she's like, why did I do that? Why did I do this? And so she called her friend. She's like, girl, she's like, I just did everything, but never mind. I don't want to go forth with this. I don't want to do it anymore. And her friend was like, girl, she's like, it's too late. She's like, you already did what you needed to do. And Lauren was like, yeah, I did. And she was just kind of like, I did what I needed to do. You did what you needed to do. Girl, the spell is complete. And I am not reversing my ends. So there's nothing you can do. And so Lauren was just kind of like, fine. Okay, all right. So now we're going to get into the spells. Spell number 1 was entitled Lust. And basically with this spell, Michael's peen basically would not get hard for any other woman besides his wife. And even if he saw beautiful women, like even if he tried to sleep with other women, that thing would not get up unless he was sleeping or tried to do something with his wife. Of course, you know, she really wasn't in the mood to having sex with him, but she knew that he would only get up for her. So Michael went on, you know, about, this is all during the first month. Michael went on, you know, he was still had his cheating ways, but every time that he would try to sleep with a woman, that thing would not get up. And he could not figure out for his life why all of a sudden he had something that worked so well for him to the point of where it did not work at all. And so he went ahead and went to the doctor and told the doctor what was going on and stuff like that. And like his doctor, of course, ended up prescribing him the little blue pill and stuff like that. And so Michael went ahead and he tried the blue pill, and the blue pill would not work. It was like absolutely nothing would work when it came to him being in any kind of sexual fantasy, sexual fun with any other woman. And so he didn't tell Lauren that he had gotten, some pills from his doctor, but Lauren did end up finding out about the pills because she was digging through the medicine cabinet. And way in the back, she had saw like a case of pills that she didn't recognize. So of course she pulled them out. She looked at them and she's like, oh yeah. She's like, okay, spell 1 is in effect. She's like, yeah, have fun, Michael. I got you now. So she put it back and she went on about her day. So the first month had ended and Michael was, of course, very highly frustrated because he could not get it on the way that he wanted to get it on. And of course, the women who he tried to do that with were not really feeling him because, of course, they wanted, sexual relations with him, and he could not fulfill his part of it. So we are rolling into month 2. And for month 2, the title of this spell is Pride. And so basically with month 2, all of Michael's good looks would fade. So basically he would start to appear more and more ugly. His teeth were starting to rot out of his mouth. His skin was just starting to look very dry and flaky, and his hair even started to actually come out. And just think about this, like you still have month 1 going on. So now he does not have a peen that works. And all of his looks that attracted all the women to him were starting to fade. And this wasn't like a quick thing that happened. This was like a gradual fading because, of course, this is a month's worth of the revenge spell working. And so during that second month, everything just started to go bad for him. Like he could not figure out why he was getting this balding spot in the top of his head and why he had to see the dentist more often. Like it seemed like he was getting all these cavities back to back. And the only thing that the dentist could do was suggest is basically, we can pull the tooth, we can do all these root canals and these workings on your mouth. But Michael was just kind of like, he was kind of stubborn, so he couldn't understand exactly what was going on. But he did go ahead with some of the, the dentist suggestions and stuff like that. But his looks were still completely fading. And it was like he couldn't grab the women's attention that he was so used to grabbing and stuff. And it basically got to the point where he was, he stopped approaching other women because he knew that once they looked at him, they wouldn't be attracted to him anymore. So that hit him hard to basically not to be able to be sexual with anyone, and then to also lose his looks. And now Lauren, during the meantime of month 2, she noticed, of course, all of this happening to him, and she was being, as expected, the supportive wife to him as he was going through each of these issues, basically. And she was just like, well, maybe you should try some Rogaine, or maybe maybe you need to try a different kind of toothpaste. I mean, it could be the toothpaste that we're using. Maybe the toothpaste doesn't agree with your teeth. Maybe the shampoo that you're using, I don't know. And as far as your skin, I mean, maybe this is, the soap that you're using. You should probably try changing that out. Who knows? And so Michael just kind of looked at her and was just like frustrated with everything that was going on. But he, again, was still stuck on his ways and basically was not showing the type of love and affection to Lauren. So on to month 3. So month 3's, I can't talk, the month 3's title, and I'm looking down to make sure I don't skip anything, is greed. So basically, for month 3, if you can tell or not, Michael lost his job. So basically everything that he had as far as the income that was coming in, because mind you, Michael made a very good living. Like, he was making the money, but let's not forget Lauren. She was making very good money as well. So both of them could literally like live off of each other if they really wanted to. So Michael ended up losing his job. And how he ended up losing his job is basically he made like this very big error on a big program that his company was working on, and basically caused the company to lose like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because of this error that he made. So of course, sadly, they had to let him go. And this just left Michael in complete distraught, to the point where he just would come home, scratch his bald head, scratch his scaly skin, and look at his rotten teeth in the mouth and just be like, okay, he's like, my body has failed on me. And now I have no money. My money's going to eventually dwindle out. He's like, I feel so less of a man. Like, I don't know what I can do. My wife, she's going to have to take care of everything. She's going to have to take care of the home. And he was just like, I just don't understand what's going on. He's like, everything was going so perfectly, and now all of a sudden I'm going through all of these different issues. And so Lauren, being the loving wife that she was, of course, she listened to him talk about all of his issues and different things like that, still knowing in the back of her mind that this spell was literally coming into fruition before her eyes. And she was just like, well, maybe you can apply somewhere else. Maybe you can try getting a job at one of the grocery stores here. Just don't give up. Continue to try for what it is that you want. And Michael just kind of like, he's just like, grocery store? He's like, are you serious? He's like, that's below me. I don't work at a grocery store. I worked at a high-tech company. I work for a high-tech company. And you suggest a grocery store to me? And she was just like, well, Michael, it's some kind of income. Like, don't act like that. She's like, you need to build yourself back up again. Who knows? Maybe you could be a store owner. And he's like, listen, woman. He's like, just shut up. Just shut up. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. Please, please get out of my face. So Lauren just kind of looked at him like, nigga. Like, I know you did not just talk to me the way you talked to me. But she got up. She was like, okay. She's like, just wait till spell number 4. She didn't say that out loud, but she said it in the back of her head. She's like, you think you getting it now? She's like, oh, this shit is eating you up good. And we're not even halfway through. Okay, and on to spell number 4. And this spell is titled Sloth. So basically with this one, what happened is that Michael was driving. He was driving to do some errands basically for the house and different things like that. And he ended up getting in a horrible car accident. Like, basically this accident was so bad to the point where it almost took his life. Now, let's reverse, back to the beginning, where Lauren said she didn't want the spell to hurt him in any kind of form or fashion. And he is, almost about to lose his life in a very serious car accident. So of course, Michael was in the hospital. He spent like a good for, a good, we'll say like 5-6 weeks in the hospital. Basically, it wasn't too long, but it was long enough to where that spell had ended and the next spell had rolled into place. And so during the time when the accident first happened, of course, Lauren called her friend and she was upset. She was like, you said nothing was going to happen to him, for the spell. She's like, nothing was going to hurt him. Like, these are just going to be, these little revenge spells that he could eventually get past and get over. And here I am about to lose my husband in a serious accident. And her friend was like, well, I'm so sorry. But she's like, I didn't tell you that it basically depends on which sin you choose as far as how basically in depth the spell will get. She's like, I am so sorry, Lauren. I did not tell you that, but I was upset and I was hurting for you. And it sounds like you chose one of the deadly sins that does more damage than basically good to the person. And so Laura was like, are you serious? And she was just like, yeah, girl. And she's like, I almost lost my husband. She's like, I'm not trying to lose him. I'm not trying to be without him. I'm not trying to be up here alone. And so she hung up the phone on her friend and she was very upset. And that night she went ahead and stayed the night in the hospital with Michael while he was still in his coma. So Michael eventually ended up waking up from his coma. But at this time, they had rolled into spell number 5. Now, excuse me, I can't get my words together, but yeah, they had rolled into spell number 5. And spell number 5 is wrath. So basically with wrath, this just sent Michael through a whole mental breakdown. Like, he went through anger, he went through grief, he went through resentment. And he was just like, he could not understand like how all of this bad stuff just started happening to him out of the blue. And he would basically take out all of those frustrations on Lauren. And here Lauren is, she's trying to help him. She's trying to help him, get up. He's basically, okay, the accident was so bad that he was basically paralyzed from the waist down. So she would help him in his, in his trainings, help him to walk, help him to stand up, use the bathroom. She was there for him. And the whole time he would just be there cursing her out. He would be so mean to her and so ugly to her because he was just upset with all the things that had progressed over for basically 5 months' time. He could not understand like why his life just completely flipped within that time. And so there was one time where she was helping him and he was just staring at her. He was looking at her very solemnly. And she was just like, what is it, Michael? What's going on? And he just looked at her and he just like, he's like, I just want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to all the things that I did to you, all of the cheating that I did to you and how I basically broke your heart when I should not have done that. And she looked at him and she was just like, I accept your apology, but, we just need to focus on moving forward. And he grabbed her hand. He was like, no, I'm serious. He's like, I'm so sorry for all the things that I did to you. I should not have put you through everything that I did. I should not have been mean to you over these past few weeks. You have done nothing but help me. You have been a wife to me. And he's like, that's why I fell in love with you. That's why I married you. So Lauren just kind of looked at him and she's like, Michael, she's like, I'm here with you. She's like, remember our vows, till death do us part. I am here with you till death do us part, no matter what goes on. And so Michael just kind of looked at her and he looked out the window from the hospital bed and he just broke down crying. And he just cried and boo-hoo-hooed. And of course, Lauren being Lauren, she was starting to hurt because she really felt bad. She could see the hurt in Michael's eyes and she could see that he was basically going through a lot of pain. So she, at this time, was really feeling hurt over the spell that she had done. Well, basically her and her friend had done and all the suffering that Michael was going through. So, of course, again, she ended up spending the night with Michael and laying next to him. And so we are moving on to the last and final month, which is month 6. So the title of the 6th spell is, of course, death. Now, when Lauren thought about it, she was like, wow. She's like, I did name death as one of my spells. Is Michael going to die eventually? So she always just kept this close eye on him, and he was still, needing aid around the home and different things like that. And she had to help feed him, and she was just basically doing everything. She was taking care of the home. They ended up hiring like someone to work on the yard and do house repairs and stuff because Michael simply could not do it. And if Michael wanted to go anywhere, of course, Lauren was the one that had to take him. Like, she was there. She was his maid for him. Of course, as she, the vows that she made on her wedding day, on their wedding day, basically till death do us part, she was there. She fulfilled all of that. And so one day Lauren had came home from work, and it was just really quiet. And usually when she comes home from work, she had, she could hear the TV going, or she could hear Michael on the phone talking to someone, or basically she could hear him like playing video games, because he really loved to play video games. But this time it was like complete silence. And so she walked in the kitchen and she couldn't see him. She walked in the den, and basically the TV was on, but the volume wasn't up. And so she just kind of was like, well, where is he, and stuff like that. And so she went upstairs to check in the rooms, to check in the bathrooms and stuff like that. And like, Michael was nowhere to be found. And so she was just like, where is he? Like, the man can't walk. So it's not like he just got up and walked, out of the house and walked away. And so she just basically checked the entire house, and Michael was nowhere to be found. And so she got a little bit concerned, and she got worried, and she called the hospital. She called the nurses, and they had not heard from Michael. And so she called her parents. Have you guys heard from Michael? No. She called Michael's parents. Same answer. Basically, no one knew where Michael was. So Lauren just sat there on the couch, just wondering, like, what is going on? And it's like, she ended up later, like, hours had passed, and she ended up calling the police, basically so they could do like a search on Michael. But the police told her, they're like, well, he hasn't been missing for 24 hours, so we can't start a search on him. They were like, call us back once 24 hours has passed, and then we can do a search on Michael. So Lauren was upset about that, and she was just like, she did not understand how a man who's completely helpless could just completely disappear from the home. So Lauren went on to sleep that night, and she tried her best to fall asleep. She took some sleeping pills, just basically to calm her nerves and allow her to fall asleep. But during the middle of the night, probably like around 3 o'clock in the morning, Lauren had to use the bathroom. So she got up to use the bathroom and stuff. And as she was walking back into the bathroom, back into the bedroom, she just kind of paused and gasped. And there was Michael standing there. And she was like, Michael, like, where, she was just basically confused, because at first he was standing and he was paralyzed from the waist down. And then all of a sudden, he was just looking at her. But she really couldn't see like his face and everything like that. She could just see basically the silhouette of him, because it was still nighttime. And she was like, Michael, she's like, where have you been? I've been looking for you all day. What is going on? And all that Michael could do, when Lauren looked at him, all he could do was just open his mouth, but no sound was coming out. And it was to the point where it looked like he was just like yelling, like, doing different things like that, but no sound was coming out. And so she was just kind of looking at him, like, she couldn't move because she was shocked, one, and she was like, what the hell is going on? And she just stood there while Michael was just yelling and screaming, and there was absolutely no sound coming out. So after he was doing the screaming and the yelling, he just kind of stopped and froze. And then the next thing she saw was this big, tall, dark shadow come out from behind him. And all she could see was like glowing eyes within this shadow. And Lauren, being Lauren, of course, she hollered and she screamed. She screamed Bloody Mary, because she didn't know what was going on. And the shadow person, the big, tall shadow person, just basically like looked at her, and then it turned and it looked at him, and then it looked back at her. And then what it did was take his hand, and it was like his hand was like closed. So it basically was like all this material, and it was all black, basically like the image of death. And so what he did is he took his hand up and he swiped it over Michael's face. And once he swiped it, Michael completely disappeared. Both him and Michael were gone. And so Lauren just kind of looked, and she was still in shock. She still couldn't move, and she was like, what happened? And so she ran, and she just kind of ran to where Michael was, and was like, fighting the air and stuff, like, where is he? What's going on? And she was looking all around. She looked in the closet door, looked under the bed and stuff. And of course, Michael was gone. Like death literally came and took Michael as the spell came to its completion. So Lauren, of course, was sad. She was upset. She was regretful. She was hurtful. And that night she did end up calling her friend, telling her friend what happened. And her friend was just like, she's like, this is what we did. She's like, the spell is complete. She's like, Michael is no longer your problem. And Lauren just sat there and she was just like, how am I going to explain this to everyone? How am I going to explain that my husband just randomly disappeared? Death came and took him literally before my eyes. Like there's no body to bury. There's nothing. And her friend was just kind of like, she's like, girl, she's like, just tell him he never showed up. He never came home. Let everyone do the search. Everyone try to look for him. You know, build your alibis, whatever you need to do, and just forget about him. She's like, go on and live your life. Live your life peacefully. This is what you wanted. You wanted revenge on him, right? And Lauren's like, not this type of revenge. What are you talking about? And so her friend was just like, look, girl. She's like, what's done is done. She's like, I'm not trying to sound mean or harsh on you, but we cannot reverse what has happened. He's gone. So you guys, that is the end of Michael and Lauren's story, entitled Till Death Do Us Part. And I'm losing my voice some. I hope you all enjoyed the story. And of course, I did do like a little community post. I have plenty of stories that I can tell if this is something that you're interested in. I will post a story from time to time, intertwined with the other videos that I do on my channel. And if you are in, oh gosh, I can't even talk. If you would like to join the family, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you here. I would love to have you here. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, do feel free to leave them in the comment section. And I thank you guys for returning back to my channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.